All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are all doing well. And today, my friends, we're here to talk about what I think the Tzeentch army will look like in Total War Warhammer 3. So we've done Nurgle, we've done Khorne so far, and I would have to say, of all four of the Chaos Gods, probably I'm most excited for Nurgle, but after that, certainly going to be Tzeentch. I do have a small Tzeentch force in tabletop. I got some Zongors. I do also have some Demon Princes of Tzeentch and a little bit of a Thousand Suns force. So I really do enjoy the playstyle. I like the magic focus. And I really do think it'll probably be a powerful army. If I just had to go straight up tinfoil hat, put on like my power levels, I think that Nurgle probably will be one of the stronger armies. And I think kind of vying for second place in the Chaos armies, it'll probably be, Tzeentch and Slaanesh. I have a feeling Khorne will probably be a little bit tricky in the beginning. Typically, Khorne is a little bit one-dimensional, whereas, Nurgle has some really good magic and they're tanky, so they're going to be forgiving, right? Whereas, Khorne, a little bit more straightforward, but that would just be my tinfoil hat prediction. Love to hear your thoughts below. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and begin by talking about the army effects for Tzeentch. So obviously, Tzeentch is all about magic and deception and trickery and all that sort of good stuff. So it is going to be an army that is very magic-based. They'll most certainly have their own lore of magic. And, one unique effect, this one's a little bit out there, but we have seen this in the game before. So basically, there are units in Total War Warhammer 2 that do exist, that basically their ward save or their durability scales with the winds of magic. So I think this could be something that maybe we see. So for example, let's say you get an army-wide buff while your winds of magic is above a certain threshold, right? While the Tzeentch, witchcraft is in the air, your troops are kind of buffed up by it. I think we could see something like this. And now it probably wouldn't be a major buff because that would be really overpowered. Like, I think the unit's obviously maybe like 10%, 15%, maybe even as low as like 5%, and it has like a really generous threshold. But that could actually be pretty cool. Now, on that same note, to kind of coincide with that, I think that the army itself will have access to really good winds of magic generation. I think they may have some basic items that give you winds of magic boost for a short period of time. I'm fairly certain most of their powerful casters, which is pretty much all the Tzeentch characters, are going to be having access to a greater arcane conduit, which is just a constant winds of magic boon. And, I think their lore passive might even do that, right? So if you cast a spell with Tzeentch, I think, or from the lore of Tzeentch, I'm pretty sure you would get something like a Winds of Magic regeneration perk that goes for like a short period of time. Because obviously, Tzeentch is all about the magic, and I really do think that's something we're going to be seeing. So I do also think the Tzeentch army overall will be fairly mobile. I don't think it'll be as mobile probably as Slaanesh. Slaanesh probably will be the fastest of the armies overall when you take the scaling of their infantry and whatnot, because Slaanesh is very quick. But Tzeentch has characters that ride discs. They have the Screamers of Tzeentch. They have fairly mobile units. So I think of all the Chaos armies, I think probably Slaanesh will be the fastest. And then I think Khorne will have some speed, but obviously Khorne has heavily barded cavalry as well that aren't super quick, at least as far as I can tell from the Blood Crushers and Skull Crushers. So I do think that Tzeentch probably will be a little bit faster than Khorne overall. But again, I could be completely wrong on this. But I don't know. Khorne's got some wheels, though, for sure. Like the Bloodhounds of Khorne. Some of those other units, I don't know. Maybe Tzeentch and Khorne will be similar in speed, but certainly Nurgle will be the slowest of the bunch. But just kind of some tinfoil hat speculation. Now, the last thing that I think that might be an army ability or effect or something they have is a mutation ability, because Tzeentch is the Lord of Change after all. We've seen this with Malice. So Malice Darkblade obviously was implemented relatively poorly. Basically, when he does transform, he turns into his demon, which is really cool. But the problem being is that he takes constant damage, so it just basically makes it terrible. Because as soon as he transforms, it's like a death sentence, right? I would like to see similar abilities of seeing maybe basic Tzeentch characters be able to ascend to like demonhood or like turn things into chaos spawn. Maybe this will be something like character abilities, but I would like to see some sort of a mutation effect in the army. I don't know how you would do it exactly, but maybe there could be certain abilities where things can like mutate or change, whether it be like a stat change or actually a physical character change. I think there would be some really cool effects here. And this is, kind of the fun part of this video, right? We can kind of scheme together, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, I'm sure it's already done in the works, but yeah. How do you guys think it'll be implemented? Do you think there'll be some kind of mutation ability there? Or perhaps will it just be magic that mutates enemy forces? So, right, just like Morker, you can turn enemy units into chaos spawn. Probably something more like that would be a safer bet. So now we've gone through the basic army abilities. I think we'll get magic-based army effects, perhaps scaling of defensive capabilities based on current winds of magic, great winds of magic regeneration, unique lore, relatively mobile army, and I think they'll have some sort of cool mutation effect somehow. I'm not sure how that would be implemented, but I think to kind of fit the flavor of Tzeentch, it should be done. So now we're going to be talking about legendary lords. They have some really, really cool legendary lords. So the first one I think will be I think each faction will start with a greater demon. And I think the greater demon will be Kairos Fateweaver. He's the biggest of the chickens. We do, of course, have Sartorial, the ever KFC god, but I think this he's the next level. So I'll read a little bit about the lore on this bad boy. Again, the army, this video in general, is more focused on the kind of army overall, what I think is going to be in it, its playstyle, its unique effects, that kind of thing. But again, we can talk about the lore a little bit because I find it quite interesting. So, Kairos Fateweaver, known also as the Oracle of Tzeentch, the keeper of the Destiny Scrolls. Sounds pretty, sounds like something I would have wrote when I was like 12 years old, the Destiny Scrolls. And even the Mocking Watcher is perhaps the most powerful of his kind due to his actions of his master, the Changer of Ways. The demon now knowing every spell in existence. So this is kind of a key point here in that, you know, he will probably have a couple, I can see him having the lore of Tzeentch, but then also maybe having access to a couple other lores of magic. Like, how damn cool would it be? I think this would be such a fun effect. Now, this is probably more easily implemented in campaign, but let's say you have like the tech tree for this big chicken here, for Kairos. Like, let's say in campaign, you have a tech tree where you can like pick what lore of magic you want to go down, right? Because it's in his lore. He knows every spell in existence, right? So wouldn't it be cool if you could like invest in lore of life and like other lores of magic? Like, he knows it all, right? Which I think is really quite neat. So in multiplayer, wouldn't it be neat if he had like, I don't know. Yeah, every lore of magic might be a little bit overpowered. I'm trying to think from a multiplayer perspective, but again, I think it like, if he's priced accordingly, I think it could be cool. Man, there's so much potential with this guy. But anyways, in terms of lore, he knows all the spells, and he also knows every action before it's conceived. Ever since he clawed his way back from the Well of Eternity after years uncounted within its depths, Kairos can see things that are hidden even to Tzeentch. So this guy does his thing. Apparently, I think he's blind as well, and one of his weaknesses, of course, he's a little bit vulnerable to getting into fisticuffs combat. So maybe... You know, I think in terms of combat functionality, I think the Lords of Change are going to be pretty similar to how we see Sartorial the Big Bird right now in terms of their mobility and their mass and things like that. But maybe he's going to be a little bit less proficient in melee to make up for how damn good he is in magic. But I would love to see Kairos Fateweaver as the first Lord. It seems like he's got a lot of cool lore and seems like a pretty neat character for sure. And again, like, you know, they could say like, yeah, Kairos' blindness... makes him vulnerable to physical attacks, it says here, but then the future does not reveal itself swiftly enough to predict battles to and fro. Okay, so he can like predict the future, but it's not like perhaps instant speed, so I don't know. It's still really cool. So the next character is one that I think we will serve. I think like all the Tzeentch characters will come at some point. They'll probably all start with one, like I said, because, you know, based on the information we have from Creative Assembly, we have, you know, the 4 Chaos factions, we have Cathay, we have Kislev, and a DLC faction. There's 9 lords between them, I think. So Chaos will probably have one each. And then there will probably be a couple for Kislev, a couple for Cathay, and maybe like one for the DLC faction. Who knows? But I think that's fairly reasonable. Also, on top of that, for the longevity of Total War Warhammer 3, they're going to, you know, have all these other characters for DLCs, which will really expand the lifespan of the game. But we do have Village the Curseling. So he's the next one. So Village the Curseling, also known as the Master of Misrule and the Twisted Twin, is a mutant sorcerer of Tzeentch, permanently fused to his more muscular brother, Thoman. Now, this one, his lore is super crazy. Essentially, right, there are these 2 brothers. One of them's just like super alpha. He's just like jacked, good looking. He's an excellent hunter. And the other one is basically like Ivar the Boneless, right? But, you know, he's not a warrior. He's just like this deformed kind of, and obviously in a warrior society of the tribes up north, you know, he's going to be the outcast, right? So long story short, the other one thrives. He's like this you know, badass hunter. He's successful. He probably gets all the ladies. And then on the other side of the coin, the other one is, you know, forced to do all the menial tasks. He's just like, you know, absolutely kind of, you know, shit on by all the other tribe members, basically. And, you know, he eventually, you know, starts becoming a mentor or a mentee. Yeah, he's like a kind of a, not a prodigy, but he works under the tribe shaman, but the shaman, you know, teaches him just like, you know, the dog shit spells and just like cantrips and things like that. But eventually, the deformed brother, he like prays to Tzeentch every night that he could reverse the fates. And Tzeentch, of course, the Weaver of Fates, he wants to reverse him and his brother's fates, right? He's like, I want to be the one who's the master and my brother be the slave, etc., etc. So basically, one morning they wake up and they're fused together. So Tzeentch fuses them together. So the one brother, Village, then is in control. His brother is basically like this mindless automaton, and he is like fused to the back of his brother. So he has his brother's huge muscular frame, but he's also like riding on his brother's back. So his brother's a warrior, he's a caster. I think this character is going to be incredibly cool. Kind of maybe not as much of a balls deep caster as like Kairos Fateweaver or the Lord of Change, but essentially he's just like can get in there, he can fight. He's probably a solid like Norskin style warrior, right? But then on top of that, he's going to have magic. I think he's going to be so cool and probably will deserve his own DLC. So yeah, there's Village the Curseling. Total brain fart on the names there, so hopefully you guys don't mind that. Next up, we have the Blue Scribes. The blue scribes, sometimes known as the Azure Archaeologists, Wandering Wizards, or Tzeentch's Questers, are a pair of powerful blue horrors. So these are actual demon characters, which ride their disc of Tzeentch through the realms eternal and mortal, squabbling as they seek lost fragments of their god to bind them with the parchment and ink. So yeah, these guys are they're interesting. They're essentially these traveling blue horror characters that are seeking kind of fragments of Tzeentch and lore and things like that. And yeah, they do ride a disc as well. So this gives us like kind of a legendary character that does kind of have a disc mount. But yeah, they're obviously proficient magic users. They're going to have demonic abilities. The blue scribes are, their model's actually really funny in tabletop. But yeah, I think they'll be neat for sure. I'm not as excited about them as I am Kairos and Tzeentch. I think those two will be the big boys. And, you know, the blue scribes might be something we see as like a free LC down the road. To me, they don't seem as exciting. But I mean, I guess they're like the scribes of Tzeentch. They handle their business. But yeah, Tzeentch and Kairos seem really, really neat for sure. The last one, I think, is one of the cooler Lords of Tzeentch. Now, this guy's implementation into the game is going to be crazy. It's the Changeling. So the Changeling, known as the perplexing prankster and deceiving horror, or even Tzeentch's trickster, personifies the part of Tzeentch's psyche that is the meddler and deceiver. So basically, this guy can take on the form of anything. It could be a greater demon, it could be an insect, it could be a man of the Empire, it could be a Kislevight, it could be an orc. And he can also take on all their personality traits and kind of quips and unique aspects of their nature, basically. Which makes it super crazy. Like, how are you going to implement this guy? What I think could be cool is that he could have, because like, let's say he costs like 1,000 gold in multiplayer. I can understand in campaign. In campaign, you know, it's the Wild West. You do whatever you want, right? Like you can get these doom stacks. You can just become supremely powerful. It's whatever. So in campaign, like he'll probably have some really cool mechanics where, for example, he can copy enemy lords or their abilities and things like that. But how do you bounce that for multiplayer, right? Because let's say the Changeling costs like 1,000 gold and somebody brings, let's say, a massive, you know, monster of some sort, whether it be a Dread Saurian or a Mazdamundi on Zlok. Can he just turn into an exact copy of him in Zlok and just like scale himself up? I think more so the Changeling, he's got to be able to like change into something. That's the like tricky part. Maybe he turns into like a Walmart version of them, like a slightly weaker version, because it's not like truly them, even though he's a mimic of them. I think that could be something where he's like turns into a weakened, scaled down version. Maybe the Changeling is able to steal abilities instead of like full on transforming. I mean, he's got to transform. He's a Changeling. This is really tricky. And also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How do you think the Changeling will be implemented? Because he is really, really an interesting character. Because man, if he can copy a greater demon, and apparently he can also trick the dark gods. He has like deceived the other dark gods before, which makes him super neat. And his true form is like totally mysterious. Nobody knows what the hell he actually is. Maybe Tzeentch does, probably does. But yeah, the Changeling, like, is he going to steal abilities from lords? Is he just going to be like a Walmart copy of things? That really, really is super interesting. And Tzeentch overall, I think, is going to have super cool implementation. So the next legendary lord I think we will see, and this guy is actually kind of a contender for the potential first legendary lord, but I really do think it's going to be greater demons right out of the gate. So maybe this guy would be a DLC, but we've basically seen him in the game, right? So Egram van Horstmann, he's been in the trailers. Obviously, we have that Imperial Wizard being corrupted by Tzeentch in the game 1 trailer, and we see this kind of mysterious character appearing in the trailer for Warhammer 3, uncovering Cathay. You know, he's got that Tzeentchy grin going on. So Egram van Horstmann, he's the most famous and perhaps dangerous of the Imperial College's few known traitors, and he is the White Order's greatest shame. And even as he was swearing his allegiance to the Empire and all that stuff, nobody knows that he had truly sold his soul to the big old KFC man Tzeentch himself. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how he's implemented. I think he could, again, be like an infiltrator type character. It depends on like, what period of time they want to implement him in. Like maybe he starts like rooted in wouldn't that be cool if he started like rooted in the Empire? Like he had an Empire starting position, but you could like raise up cults and like do all this like inner kind of scheming. And then eventually he like appears as this like Tzeentch character. There's so much cool stuff, but yeah, Egram van Horstmann, he's definitely going to be really cool. I've always been more of a fan when it comes to Chaos of the mortal variants of specific gods characters. So like Kairos Fateweaver is really cool, but like Tzeentch the Curseling, the Changeling's a little bit ambiguous. But again, like a character like Egram van Horstmann, I think it's really cool to see like these mortal characters corrupted by the Chaos gods, and then see him in action. So yeah, I think that's it for the legendary lords. We have Egram van Horstmann. There's a ton of lore in him, obviously. So if you guys want to check that out, I would recommend going to warhammerfantasy.fandom.com. That's basically where you're able to read up on, pretty in-depth lore on all these different characters. So now talking about basic lords, we have the Lord of Change. So Lord of Change will obviously be a Tzeentch caster. It'll be very similar to, probably honestly, really, really similar reskinned version of Sartorial the Everwatcher, updated for Warhammer 3, because Sartorial is pretty dated looking, right? So they'll probably just update a Lord of Change there. We'll have a Demon Prince. We'll have a Chaos Lord of Tzeentch, a Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch, obviously, and then I think we'll see a presence of Zongors, like a Zongor Shaman. There's certain elements of Age of Sigmar that I do think Games Workshop and Creative Assembly will be bringing to. This is just kind of an overarching thought, but I do think they'll be bringing elements of Age of Sigmar to the Warhammer 3 game, right? Because again, it's a good cross promotion. Like a lot of people kind of speculated that the Great Unclean one in the trailer was Rodriguez because of the hood he's wearing, and it very well could be, right? And that would be probably clever because it kind of cross pollinates those two IPs. And, I don't really think it's a big deal. So I think we'll see a Zongor Shaman. Obviously, these are the goat people of Tzeentch, and I do have them on tabletop, and they are aspects of the demons of Tzeentch. So next we have heroes. Every demon faction will have its herald. We have an exalted hero of Tzeentch. We have a Tzeentch sorcerer, and then we also have the exalted flamer of Tzeentch as well. So I think those will be probably the basic heroes. And again, I'm just like doing a deep dive into, I've been doing a deep dive into all these like old fantasy armies, and I know there's so many other additions and so many things I'm probably perhaps missing here, but you guys will have to let me know. I'm really interested. Whenever I see something that I missed, I'm very eager to go check it out. So next we have mount options. I think we have the Chaos Steed, we have the Disc of Tzeentch. Obviously that's kind of his signature. Nurgle has the Palanquins, Khorne has like the Juggernauts. Tzeentch is all about riding them fantasy surfboard. So he's got the I don't even know, what would it be, like a surfboard, or it's like a round board, like a sled. No, it's not really a sled because it's like floating, but anyways, the Disc of Tzeentch. We could see Chimera mounts as well, and a Chaos Dragon. I believe there's a really famous Chaos Dragon of Tzeentch, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Perhaps that could be something that does get implemented. There's one that I think Sigvald fights it in his book. Yeah, that could, so I think there'll be like kind of a unique Chaos Dragon for Tzeentch most likely. Now, infantry is where it gets pretty interesting here, because for some reason, and this is again tinfoil hat, I don't think Tzeentch will have in tabletop Tzeentch could there was Chaos Marauders with Mark of Tzeentch, but I think it'd be really cool if they actually replace Marauders, or at least their models, and they can be very similar in functionality, but I think it'd be cool if they replace the Marauders with Cultists or Acolytes. So instead of having Marauders and Marauder great weapons, you have Cultists, and you have Cultists with great weapons, or Acolytes with great weapons. You get the picture. I think that'd be really neat. Again, Chaos Warriors, Mark of Tzeentch, Chosen, Throwing Axes and Javelins, Forsaken for sure. Forsaken are a unit that's very, kind of in my opinion, very Tzeentch, because they're mutated, they're changing. It's kind of in that theme. Now, as far as specialist units, you got the Pink and Blue Horrors, you have the Flamers of Tzeentch, and you have Zongors as well. So Zongors are like the goat infantry. Relatively, and I think we could see Zongors here, and the Flamers of Tzeentch, of course, super iconic, and the Pink Horrors and Blue Horrors for sure. Now, for cavalry, I think I would like to see the different, that different kind of scheme where you have the Cultist Horsemen or Acolyte Horsemen, and then you have Cultist Horsemen or Acolyte Horsemen with javelins as well and throwing axes. Chaos Knights for sure. I think we'll see those bad boys, just kind of basic Chaos Knights, Mark of Tzeentch. And now for specialist units, we have the Burning Chariots, which is the basic or kind of the unique Tzeentch chariot. And on that same note, I don't think we'll see basic Chaos Chariots, because Tzeentch kind of has its own thing going on. And I think that could be a recurring pattern with these factions. Like if they have a unique demonic or Chaos Warrior god-focused unit, I think it could replace the basic ones we see on the Warriors of Chaos. And, most of these roster speculation videos, it's quite a bloated roster for sure, because it's including so many elements of the Warriors of Chaos. So I can even see Creative Assembly and Games Workshop taking more liberties and adding unique units, again, to make them a little bit more different than the Chaos Undivided. So Burning Chariot, Screamers of Tzeentch, I think we could have some sort of disc cavalry, so some sort of characters, whether it be sorcerers or acolytes riding discs that perhaps are like Sisters of Thorn, and that they have some free bound spells. I think that'd be quite cool. Zongor Enlightened and Zongor Skyfire. So these are disc riders. These would be like Hawk Riders, basically. It's just going to be Zongors riding on these flying discs with bows, and yeah, I think that'd be quite neat. So now we have War Machines, monsters, fast attack, all that sort of good stuff. We have the Chaos Warhounds, Chaos Spawn for sure. Now there's three things I don't think will be included, or I think it would be kind of neat to kind of exclude them. Exclude them, no. Would be the Chaos Giant, Trolls, and the Chaos War Shrine. I feel like those don't really fit that well with the Tzeentch roster, and they're more kind of Chaos Undivided units. Granted, I guess a Giant, but then Tzeentch has the Mutalith Vortex Beast, which I feel like kind of fills the role of their monstrous kind of unit. You could have the Giant and the Mutalith Beast. They're very probably different in functionality, but it'd be kind of... I'm trying to avoid like roster bloat. So Mutalith Vortex Beast, Soul Grinder, Furies, the War Shrine, I don't know. Maybe like a War Shrine of Tzeentch. If they go that route, maybe each Chaos faction could have its own War Shrine dedicated to its god. That could be something. I don't know why. I feel like trolls are just odd in this roster. Because, yeah, I don't know. You got like spawn, things like that. And Tzeentch could probably even have its own unique spawn. Like the spawn of Tzeentch could be even more changed, even more dynamic, right? So Soul Grinder, Furies, and then of course for Specialist, we have the Mutalith Vortex Beast, as well as the Chimera. So that more or less sums up the roster. And again, like we could be seeing elements of like Age of Sigmar kind of infused in this. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Basically, you guys raised a really good point when you kind of speculated that Rotigus was the Great Unclean One instead of Kugoth, which, you know, it did kind of look like him, right? It had the hood. That's kind of Rotigus's signature thing. So I think we could see that kind of across the board, perhaps for the Chaos factions. Not like in super, like, because Rotigus is still a Great Unclean One, right? It's not like he's like some new, like, crazy model, basically. He's still just a Great Unclean One that wears a hood, right? So I don't think it's too out of the box. And yeah, the Tzeentch roster, I think, could be quite cool for sure. I'm very, very excited to see them in action again. Magic-based army, perhaps some Winds of Magic effects that either buff or debuff your army, depending on what your Winds of Magic is. And that'd be kind of cool, because then there's like elements of like Winds of Magic management. And of course, they're going to have a ton. Maybe their spells will be super cheap to cast too. You know, there's all sorts of crazy stuff you can do. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What units do you think are missing? Are there any really cool characters I missed? I'd be quite curious to hear your thoughts on the matter. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll be back with Slaanesh probably a week from now, and that'll be the final one. And then from there, I think we'll talk a little bit about Chaos Undivided, what I think the Warriors of Chaos will be getting, and we can go from there. Thanks again, guys. You have an excellent night. Stay safe, avoid Nurgle's Plague, and take care, guys.